I've got to welcome Debra Heslin. Deb, you and I have known each other, I don't know how many years.
Got to be about 7 or 8, I think.
I think it is
Got to
this
be. Yeah.
7 or 8. And I actually know that a lot of people who are listening to this probably already know you or have worked with you or have been trained by you. And they're popping in to see what else can come out of the mouth of the infamous Debra Heslin, originally from Australia, now living in America, and living between Tennessee and New York and Florida, I believe.
Yes,
Am I right?
correct. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
My memory's working today. So before I go any further, for those of you who haven't met Deb before, Deb is a certified trainer of neurolinguistic programming, NLP, timeline techniques, hypnosis, coaching, and a lot of other things. She's conducted training with students from all around the world now. I was speaking to Deb the other day, and she's telling me contracts that she's running and clients that she's working with in Europe and other places. I know she also does work still in Australia. I think I'm correct, Deb.
Correct.
And she's done a lot of other modalities. Those of you who knew Deb back in 2020, 21, I think that's when you, around about the time when you studied the heart math, Deb, if I'm, or perhaps it was
Yes.
before then. Is it around about
No,
then?
it was 2020.
And you do the heart math for individuals and you are also certified to deliver it to teams as well.
Correct. That's correct.
And in addition to that, and Deb is one of these people in my life, I spoke to her yesterday about a contract that she was just asked to do. I think it's an ongoing one, Deb. Maybe we can speak some more about that later. And I was so thrilled that Deb got this. And I said to her, I said, people are giving me good news all the time, but this means something more. Because if anybody deserves to land an amazing contract with amazing people doing beautiful work, I'm going to go gold star to Deb Heslin because she's somebody who lives and breathes developing people, working with teams. And Deb, it was great to hear that. You can maybe tell us more about it later. But in addition to heart math, in addition to NLP, Deb's done the Canfield Success Principles, and she's done high performance coaching with Brendan Burchard. She's worked as an in-house coach, which is where I met her with one of the largest NLP personal development training companies in the world. And where she met her husband was when she was working with an airline called JetBlue, which is, Deb, if I'm correct, you managed a team of around about 1,800 cabin crew out of JetBlue's main base, which I believe is in JFK.
Correct. Yes,
In
I had a
John
staff of about 45, and they helped manage the 1,800 flight attendants that were in
F.
JFK. Yeah.
I also worked for the airlines, probably when I was around about 25. I can only imagine that was all kinds of crazy going down.
Yes, I woke up one day and said, "How did I get this job? This little girl from Australia, what did I do?" But I
Was,
got it and I learned a tremendous amount.
was
Yeah.
it a what did I do wrong or what did I do right?
I by the time I got to that level, it was kind of what did I deserve to do this in a negative way, if that made sense, because I literally did not sleep for months. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
some of you around the world may not have heard of JetBlue Airways. I'm always surprised, but I find it's one of the companies that I look at. It's a great case study for many businesses because JetBlue turned the airline market on its head in the States. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking you'd be a part of all that.
Yes, I think I turned myself on my head too. They were a young company and they hired people that actually didn't even have experience, not always, didn't have experience running these things. So it was a fresh look on
Okay.
what to do. So yeah, I learned as well as they learned, and it was an honor to be given that position, seriously. But I did a lot of work to end up there. It wasn't like I just got handed it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And in addition to JetBlue, you've worked with Disney,
Yep.
you've worked with Lululemon,
Mm-hmm.
you've done a lot of work with many different law firms.
Yep.
And you continue to do work, as we said earlier, in the United States and abroad. At the moment, you are, I mean, Deb, you amaze me. The studying isn't over,
No.
and you're currently completing your doctorate in metaphysical science.
Yeah. I actually just finished it and submitted it, so I'm waiting to hear back. So yeah. Not that
Oh,
it means much because it's not going to change anything. I do the study for myself, if that makes sense.
are you ever going to stop studying?
No, my daughter said to me the other day, as you know, Simon, I just had my 70th birthday in May, and it was my goal to finish it by the time I turned 70. And my daughter said, Mom, my whole life, all I know you to do is study and go to school. Are you ever going to stop? And I said, no, right? No, because we're either learning or we're dying. I want to continue learning.
I, yeah, I think it's the same for me, but let's see. I'll be 60 this year, so you've got 10 years on me, but the way you keep going, I find phenomenal. I find it encouraging, and just to go, you were born in Australia.
Correct. Yes.
That's where you grew up. And for anybody just wanting a bit more, Deborah lives permanently in the US right now with her husband, her three daughters, her eight grandchildren, her great grandchildren, and incorporates spirituality, mindfulness, exercise. I often see you doing various yoga things online as well.
Yeah.
And you incorporate all that into your daily routine.
Yeah.
I think just in closing from myself, you're somebody who truly, I've met, like you, we've both met thousands of people in the field of personal development. Yours and my connection is primarily NLP, though you are somebody who, why it's such an honor to welcome you on behalf of the IFNLP is because you're somebody who truly lives and breathes this in every area of your life. Yeah, and I know that also you're not somebody who puts it out there that I know it all. You're continually
Oh,
on
no.
the journey, on the journey of, of learning. So, would you just take us through? Because a lot of the listeners for the IFNLP are they've gone through the training or they've started the training with NLP. So, if I could start by asking you, what got you into NLP, and what was your journey like through NLP? How was it for you, and what did you do?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So, just to start off with, during my role at JetBlue Airways when I was the general manager of John F. Kennedy, I often say that small little airport in New York, right, that you may or may not have heard of, and I landed this role. It was very, I was considered a high performing leader. And I would often feel like that was the imposter syndrome. If I'm high performing, how is everybody else functioning? Because I had a lot of stress and anxiety inside my internal world, if that made sense.
Okay.
So, because of that, and after September 11th, I actually, excuse me, I had a panic attack on the plane because I was flying September 11th actually. And my whole body, I thought we were having a decompression. And so that's when I started developing panic attacks, right? Even though I wasn't the general manager then in 2001, but I rose up to that position and nobody knew what was going on inside me. And I didn't know how to get rid of the anxiety, the frustration, the worry, all of those things. So I started, to make a long story short, Simon, I started off doing yoga. And inside the yoga room, I felt this peace and serenity. And sometimes I would wonder why I would laugh, why I would cry. It would bring up this emotions inside of me. And me, I used to say, you don't cry when you're working out, because I looked at it as working out, but it's not. It's that connection with the mind body, right? So during the time I was the general manager, I started to study. My daughter says, you don't just do something, you have to learn about it and study it, right? So I became a master yoga teacher while I was still the general manager. And that led me to want to understand about the mind body. So that led me to I won't go through them all because there's too many. I have a huge
But I
box.
just want to check something here.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you're working, it's the day of 9/11, and you
Yes.
have a panic attack.
Well, I didn't have a panic attack that day. So
Okay.
yes, we were on at that time I was a flight attendant and we were
Yeah.
on the last flight that left John F. Kennedy Airport. And JetBlue
Okay.
Airways have live TVs.
Okay.
So all of our customers saw the plane hit and saw everything else that happened while we were still in the air. And then we had to divert to North Carolina. And I ended up not getting home for 6 days. So
I'm
it was when, go
I'm
ahead.
I'm getting a shiver through my body
Yes, it was
as you
crazy.
as you talk about that.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
getting a
crazy.
How long after was it that you started having the emotions where you were feeling sad, or you were realizing that you
Yeah,
weren't, the emotions were just popping up? How long after
yeah.
that did that start to happen?
So that's also such a really good question because this is what a lot of us do, and that's why the work that we do is so helpful and beneficial for people. I chose after that to work like crazy so I didn't have to think about. I had friends that were killed on 9/11, firefighters within our area, people that I knew, right? And then there were people in the airline industry that were missing, and we didn't know if they were okay for days. Anyway, so because I threw myself into work and not coming to terms with, so like I suppressed those emotions. If we think about timeline and everything, it was about 6 months later. I'm working a flight. I think it was from South Florida back to New York, and all of a sudden I'm in the middle of the aisle, and I literally had a panic attack. I thought we were having a decompression, and I was having a heart attack. And so I fell to the ground, and they started working on me, etc., etc. We were almost landing in JFK, so when they landed at the airport, the paramedics met me, and then they took me to a hospital in an ambulance.
Uh,
And I got to the hospital, and the doctor checked me out thoroughly, and he said to me, "Sweetie," he said, you're in perfect health. You had what is called a classic panic attack."
okay.
And that's when it was suggested to me. I'd never experienced one before.
Uh-huh.
I really thought I was having a heart attack. So here I am, wasn't risen up the ranks as
Yeah.
yet, but I've run my own business for 18 years in New York. I was successful already, and then I decided to go into the airline industry. So that was another reason later on. I felt all this anxiousness coming up, and as the general manager, I didn't want to have a panic attack in front of my workers,
Uh-huh.
the flight attendants. So I started with yoga.
And
And that led me to take, I did so many trainings, Simon, so many. I won't
you
even bother
you
naming it.
start something and you take it all the way through.
All
I
the
mean,
way.
first of all, thank you for sharing what you shared about 9/11. I never knew that. I never knew
Yeah,
that. So I've learned, and I'm sure many other people who've seen you speak before, maybe you haven't shared all that before on a
no,
podcast. Though what fascinates me about you is you're somebody from my experience of you, and like I say, we like you said, we've known each other about 7, 8 years. You take it all the way. So you went to a yoga class and you became a yoga instructor.
yes, I became a master yoga teacher, and then I
Oh,
ran yoga retreats.
okay.
And it would be like wellness retreats where I would talk a little bit about the mind body and, the yamas and the niyamas of yoga, which is like the ecology, pretty much taking care of ourselves, not bringing harm to ourselves and harm to others. So little did I know how that would show up in NLP later, because there's a lot of connections.
Okay. So yoga, you went to a class one day and you ended up being a master yoga instructor, and then you started
Yes.
doing seminars. So now if we go to NLP, you went along, what was your first introduction to NLP? Got you
So
into
my
that?
first introduction was interesting. As I said, I'd taken a lot of trainings. It was like every month I was doing something. And it was at Jack Canfield's training where I got certified as one of his success principles trainer that he was talking about NLP. And so I'm like, what's NLP?
Yep.
Right? Never heard of it. And he looks at me and, Deborah, NLP? You don't know what NLP is? Everything that I do is based on the foundation of neurolinguistic programming. His E plus R equals O is all cause and effect, right? So that was one of the things that we had learned about. So I said, oh, I've got to do an NLP training now. So there was one in December. I'd looked all over and I found one in December in Las Vegas. And meanwhile, I had done a training September, October, November. I got hired by one training company. It wasn't NLP, to work for them as a trainer. So I had all this. And
Right.
then prior to going to Las Vegas, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do the training. You know, I have enough knowledge by now, right?
Uh-huh.
So I said to myself, well, my parents live in Las Vegas. My dad and my stepmom live there. I can always just go and visit them and just show up, and
Uh-huh.
see what it's like. So I went into the training and, for lack of a better way to say it, it blew my mind. It was the why behind what I was doing with the other learnings I had had. This is why you do this, right? This is what you do here. And so I applied those principles that I learned in the training. And I already had clients because I was already coaching. And I walked away from there doubling, quadrupling my clientele and doubling my income. It was whichever way it was, I was making so much more money than what I was doing. So I did master prac and I did trainers training and I became a coaching assistant. I worked for them.
And
And so it goes.
and I'm thinking you probably did hypnosis and
Yes,
timeline and
yes.
coaching, because if you followed the way you did it in yoga, you wouldn't stop at just the basic
Oh
level.
no, no.
Okay.
I had to do it all. And I remember, because I went through, the same company that you were with, that Tad said to me on the last day of training, he said to me, so when's your first training, Deborah? And I said, my eyes must have moved in every direction,
Uh-huh.
right? And he looked at me and he said, one person is a training. And so my very first training, I had one person.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I did it right away. I graduated in the November by the time I finished all four and was qualified to teach, and did my first training in January.
And well, I think anybody listening to this and anybody who knows you is not surprised. And I know that you still deliver practitioner courses. I saw you did one just a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
But today people are here, we've put it out there to talk about heart math. And I remember for some reason, which we can both have perhaps a bit of a smile about and keep quiet about.
Yeah,
There's some reason that I knew you did the heart math training, which got me curious.
yeah,
And what I mean, we know how you got into yoga. We know how you got into NLP.
yeah.
How did you get into heart math?
Such a good question. I love these questions, Simon. So, interestingly enough, when I was it was it had to be master practitioner. Um, that I was either, there assisting at or trainers training. I don't remember which one, but I was out in Vegas because it was 2019. And one of the students had this little device that she was breathing and watching her heart rhythms. And so curiosity, we've got to remember NLP is the state of curiosity. What else
Yeah.
could I do? What else could I do? So I asked her a question. And she said, "Oh, it's from the Heart Math Institute, and it helps me regulate myself, get self-regulated before I have to go and present or whatever it is I'm doing." And I said, "How wonderful is that?" I said, "Tell me more." So I asked her questions about it, and that was where that ended. And then when I got home from assisting, I researched the Heart Math Institute, and then one of my people that I was coaching regularly had taken the training already.
Okay.
And so she told me about it. So it was just coincidental. And the more research that I did, and I said to myself, I think this is going to add, and I also think it's a piece that's missing, which is the connection of the heart.
Okay.
Because the mind knows the path, Simon, right? But the heart fuels our journey,
I
right? We're
think for
emotional
anybody,
beings.
I think for
Yeah.
anybody listening right now, they probably have already got the idea that when you start something, you take it all the way out there.
Yes.
There's not a
All the way.
there's not a halfway stop
No.
with Deb Heslin. That doesn't exist. So yeah, the missing piece. One thing that, just to bring in one thing at the IFNLP, I may be repeating myself here, but there's a certain, anybody who looks at NLP on the internet will see that in certain people that they go, okay, NLP's got not such a great reputation.
Right.
And I've been talking with you, and I know you're going to go through you're going to go through accreditation, another accreditation with the IFNLP in the coming months.
Yeah.
And
September.
one of the things that you're aware of, and which has drawn you to the IFNLP, is you like the way we're keen to bring more modalities in and connect them with NLP. Because our
100%.
thinking is NLP should not be an island. And if
Right.
we have a bad rep out there, if we apply the principle, perception is projection, who
Right.
is responsible for the perception of NLP out there in the bigger world, then it's those of us working within the field. And
Yes.
you said something there that was very key for me, is that heart math was like the missing piece.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you brought heart math into, and well, I know you did
Yeah.
it, but you started incorporating heart math techniques into your NLP trainings, and
I
I'm
did.
thinking
Yeah.
into your coaching as well.
100%.
What kind of a shift did you start seeing with, for example, to start with one-on-one clients that you worked with?
Yes. So, the beauty about the heart math techniques, heart math is the name of the institution that does all the research and provides the tools and techniques. And one of the, uh, like right away, you're able to shift. So it's kind of like anchoring somebody into what they call a coherent state. So all it is we know that where energy flows or attention goes, energy flows, right? So if you're able to shift someone into what they call a coherent state, and I can explain all that to you, using just your breath and focusing the attention on the heart, and there's a reason that we do that, it will shift the body, the whole entire body. Remember, our body, 55% of our communication to ourselves and to others is
Yeah.
through our physiology. So if we're able to shift into what is called a coherent state, we're already, more than halfway to being more open to get clarity, to make better decisions, to get the results that we want just by breathing. So I start off all of my classes with what we call heart focused breathing. And I get them to make a sincere attempt to bring about a regenerative feeling, such as appreciation, care, gratitude, whatever it is they want to bring into their body, radiate it throughout their body, and then we can send it to each other, right? And then we can send it to everyone in the world, right? We do that because our heart, I want to keep it simple because that's the way I understand. Our heart was formed in the womb prior to the brain. Our heart sends more signals to the brain than the other way around.
I think this is where I admit, or I let everybody know that I attended one of your courses.
Yes, you did.
I
It was an
was
honor.
I think it was like the end of last year sometime,
Yes,
and
yes.
it was 2 days, around about 5 hours, 5 hours
Each day.
each session, I think. And maybe what I'd like you to talk about, if that's okay for those people listening, I'm just going to say what it did for me.
Yeah, please do.
Because I started my formal study of NLP back in 2009, though my informal study way before then. And I went through a space, especially after I became a trainer, where I think I lost contact with my emotions. I think I started looking at everything very much like a system, and that emotions are something that whatever you're feeling, you can deal with it. And I believe what I did was for a couple of years after I became a trainer, I, 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 I found it hard to experience just the act of, I'm not saying the act of living, because obviously I'm here in my life, but everything became so much more controlled for me, which I can go as good and bad.
Yeah.
Going through heart math, just going through those 2 5-hour sessions with you, I mean, yes, a lot of the stuff that I was mentioning just now, I dealt with in the years after. I mean, it's whatever, golly, it's 12 years ago now since I became a trainer, or 13 years. But what you delivered in the heart math session over the 2 days, I'm thinking I really wish I'd had that way back when in 2011.
Yeah.
And
Me too, when I worked in the airline industry. Me too, growing up, being a teenager, being a young adult, being, a mother raising my children. So many things. Um, and I hope I'm not interrupting you, but I also want to say, when you were talking about with my clients, I start off every session with my clients with one of the heart math techniques, and they're quick and they work. You don't have to do them for very long for that shift to happen within your physiological responses, right? The tone that you're speaking to yourself. And what I find with my clients is they're more open,
uh-huh.
not arrested, right? And if you don't mind, I'm going to remember in master practice, this is our nervous system,
Yeah.
right? This is our nervous system bumping up against the environment.
Uh-huh.
How about we add tools, more tools to that, so this cup expands and we have so many, one of them being our breath, which is key to everything. It tells us so much. So we're doing a very simple exercise with those tools. So we bump up against this environment. We're prepared. We're not always reacting to, or as the Heart Math Institute calls it, we're recovering from, where we're in the, oh, what did I do that for? Now I'm regretting my behavior, my actions, my outcomes. So
Uh-huh.
these techniques, Simon, help the person, plus myself, because I practice them. You can't give away what you don't own. Helps them be able to self-regulate. So we're not as reactionary, we're at cause instead of being at the effect of what happens in the environment.
Just those 2 days I spent with you, Deb. Well, I mean, I was doing it from where I live in South
Yeah.
Africa, so it was
Middle of the night.
it was something like a middle of the night,
It
and
was.
I thought, well, one, I was super grateful to be part of the course, and I thought, well, I'm going to learn some new stuff here, and this is going to be cool, and I can add to some of the things, and I can incorporate some stuff. All I can say to anybody listening in those 10 hours. I actually got shifts to do with people I work with. I release stuff, and like you say, so quickly.
Yes.
Also, I did some work. I wasn't really expecting to work on stuff. I thought I'm just going to learn some new bits to give other people. And something in the way that whether it's in the heart math or in the way that you deliver it, and the reality is it's probably a combination of the two. I actually released some stuff to do with some issues that were going on, were very heavy with my family at the time. And but the biggest part of what I'm saying here is, even though I've done NLP and goodness knows whatever else for however many years, what I received as a result of attending your course blew my mind.
Thank you.
It
So
blew
means the
my
most.
mind. And it's just the truth is easy.
Yeah.
The truth is easy. Deb, one thing, a question. I know you've said it helps you get results with clients because they can get more in touch with themselves and be more authentic, and you used a couple of other words. But I'm also interested to hear about in the corporate field, because
Yeah.
I know you've been doing it for quite a while. And I know increasingly that's something you're doing more of. And then you mentioned to me, I think it's the National Health Service in England, I think it's NASA who use heart math. Am I
Oh
correct?
yeah, the military, the what are they called? The ones that the not the Blue Angels. I'm trying to think of what the names that they're called in the military. But they taught this hospitals, schools, first responders are taught this. I've actually, on not on the corporate side, have just been asked by the military in Las Vegas and Reno to do
Okay.
something there along with these tools. So it's not a definite yet, but they've submitted my proposal for approval. So I'm
Okay.
completely honored, and it's all around these techniques. Now, do I use NLP to build my rapport and everything? Absolutely. My language patterns, 100%. But these are the tools because it helps them self-regulate in stressful situations where they're able to be prepared. That's the key, to prepare for and adapt too, but not always responding afterwards, right? Because that's when we often regret our actions. I want to say something scientifically here, Simon, for a moment. As I was saying, the heart sends more signals to the brain than the other way around. So what happens is, if we are in an erratic state or a state of anger or
Yeah.
frustration or annoyance, we're working with somebody or we're there that ourselves, what happens is those signals go straight up to the thalamus in our brain or the amygdala, it doesn't make any difference. And
Yeah.
that goes to the frontal lobe where we make our decisions. We work a lot with decisions with people in NLP, right? Limiting
Yeah.
decisions, limiting beliefs. So, what this does is it self regulates for their decisions to be open from the frontal lobe to make a better decision. And what that can be, a coherent state is what we call it.
I think I called you. I think it was 2 days after I'd
Yeah.
done the couple of days course with you. And I said I'd been in a meeting and in a situation where I would normally have had a different response. I took the time, which was just a number of seconds, to
Right.
link the two. And my response was completely different.
Yeah.
It
100%.
gave it just gave me that
Yeah.
added bit of something extra, that something additional that I hadn't thought was there. What I'm noticing is there's a few other trainers who are now a few other trainers of NLP who are now also incorporating heart math into what they deliver. I know Gusha through in China,
Yeah.
she's bringing it in and having a lot of success. But I wanted to
Yeah.
speak to you because I know of everybody I know who's done heart math, you've been doing it the longest. And as we said earlier, you started it and you took it right
Yeah.
to the top.
Yeah, and corporately, you had mentioned corporately. So what I do is I do a combination of things. I just did something for an Israeli company that was on Zoom. They wanted me for every Monday for the month of May for wellness, right? And it was all the heart math techniques. Of course, I talk about mindset and things like that from NLP, but it's our four bodies: the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual bodies. That's the other piece I love, is that connection with the spiritual piece. Doesn't have to be religion. It can be, but it can be that spiritual connection to the greater good, whatever that source is for you, right? So I focus on those four bodies. What can we do mentally? We can shift our thoughts from what's not serving us to what is. What we can do spiritually can tie into our values, Simon, right?
Yeah.
What's important to us here? Is it important to us to be like this, or is it important to us to be able to connect with others from a deeper level, right? So I love that piece with the values. And then the physical, what are we doing with the energy in our body? And then the emotional piece, we are all emotional beings. And so we see the world through how we feel.
And one thing that, well, I keep going one thing. There's so many things I got, and I was actually looking through my notes again the other day. Though when we talk about the negative emotions, when we
Mm-hmm.
when we study NLP, we go the typical ones: anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. We can add to it. We can go shame. We can have whatever they are, and we can go clear those things up. They're not good for you. They're holding you back, whether people say it's a rucksack or they carry a chair, whichever way they describe it.
Right.
I get that. Though where I've brought this into, and I'd like you to, if it's okay with you, I'd like you to talk about it because I've incorporated one part into my practitioners and people who came through to master practitioner, a master practitioner I just finished on Sunday of this week. I brought in this part about, you're going to describe it better than me, but it's the effect on the body of the low level negative emotions, the high level negative emotion, or more intense ones is probably a more professional way of putting it. And then the effect chemically on the body with the positive emotions, be they like I don't know, would you talk about that for a bit? Because that I
It's actually
found,
one of my favorite tools to use with my clients, so they
I found
actually
that,
get
I found
a
that
workflow.
fascinating.
Yeah.
And when I spoke to it about people, to the students about it, it really was something because there's a scientific proof in this.
Yes, exactly. So, and that's what's been done in the labs with this. So it helps me when I'm working with CEO clients or I go to companies, I can give the actual data of what's been studied with this. And so it goes, it's like, oh, wow, this is what happens here, right? So there are two systems where the body functions from. We have the four bodies, as I said, the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. We have the autonomic nervous system, right, which can go up and down. We can list it like that. And on the opposite side is the hormonal system. So we all have the autonomic nervous system, which affects all of the major organs in our body, right? So think about the heart, lung, liver, kidneys, and our hair, our eyes, our skin, our teeth. It affects everything and it goes through the heart. Then we have the hormonal system. And if we look at opposite sides of that, we have cortisol, which is not a bad thing. It's what gets us up in the morning, right? And then we have what's called DHEA on the other side, which is the vitality hormone, which is like joy that we can produce ourselves by these positive renewing emotions. So I just want to say something here. What I do love about, we know from NLP language is important. And what I do love how they reframe the negative emotions is they call them depleting. So the depleting meaning, and I'll explain that in a second a little bit more, we as human beings go through a plethora of emotions in a day. It's not possible to feel joy all day. We would be very
Are you
shallow.
sure? Are you sure?
Joy is my middle name, and I
I
don't
just,
feel joy
I
every
didn't know
day,
that.
all day.
I've seen some people who can go through anger all day.
Yes, there you go.
And
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen I've
yeah.
seen some people who can do it really well.
Yes, I can actually second that for sure.
Mm.
Right. So they call it depleting emotions.
Okay.
And they're on the chart, which I go through over well in the training itself. There are four quadrants. And on the left hand, upper left hand side, there's what they call a high depleting emotion, whatever it is for the person. Just as you said, anger, frustration, anxiety, fear, right? It could be any of those that could be listed there. And those deplete, they activate the cortisol in our body. And as I said, cortisol is not bad. Only if it stays in our body, like that person that you were saying. I know people that hold that anger all day. That is cortisol being dumped over and over and over again, right? So it depletes the energy at the end of the day, and it releases through our body a cascade or a cocktail of 1,400 biochemicals that affect the hair, the teeth, the nails, memory loss. We age, right? All of those things that are depleting the body, those are the high ones. And on the other side, below that would be the low depleting emotions, which could be sadness, it
Uh-huh.
could be depression, right? It could be all, so it's emotions, not states, emotions, because we're emotional beings. Now, on the other side of the equation, high renewing emotions could be joy, happiness, um, love, right? And anything that would
Uh-huh.
fit for the person where it would fit on that quadrant. And then on the lower right hand side would be low renewing emotions, right? Which could be calm, could be peace, could be bliss, any of those. And that, when we can bring those emotions into our body and
Yeah.
anchor it in there, right? Thinking
Uh-huh.
about NLP, right? We release, without any drugs, without any pills, DHEA, which a cocktail of 1400 chemicals there, dopamine, serotonin, right? Which activates and goes through our body, that we can produce ourselves by shifting our state. So what I love about this is they explain the reasons why we want to do a state change, if that
I,
makes sense,
you know what?
right?
Whenever I'm not looking at the screen, Deb, I'm much as we're here and we're doing this podcast, webinar, whatever name we
Yeah.
want to give it. I'm also being a student again. So whenever I'm not looking at the screen, I'm writing notes because I'm thinking, okay, reminder to self. And if I can just share what I wrote down here, I thought,
Yes,
okay, this,
please, absolutely.
because my NLP had kicked in, and I
Yeah.
thought, here, there's a Y set.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I was doing a Y set for NLP and I was including heart math as one of the modules to teach, be it a practitioner, be it a master practitioner, I'd be going, who here would like to look in the mirror and see yourself looking better than other people your age? Who here would like to know that their hair is going to last longer? People around me, Carla, who's helping technically today for me, he's like telling me I need to go to Johannesburg for a hair transplant right now.
Oh, we
That's,
don't.
but who here wants to know that their skin's in good condition?
Yeah.
Who wants to live longer? See their kids, see their grandchildren, maybe meet their grandchildren. Who here wants to have a calmer life? Who here wants
Right.
to have
Yeah.
people be in your presence and in your life who remember you for being a good, happy, whatever person around them? And who here wants to have whatever, just better
Yeah.
health,
More
whatever
energy,
it may be,
sleep better. There are so
sleep
many
better.
things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's to me, it's something's gonna, yeah, it's a no-brainer to
It
do
is.
this.
And it's so
No-brainer.
simple. And,
Yeah.
it literally takes a couple of moments. And, when I go to corporations, I start off, sometimes I'll start off with, I'll be doing things on stress and anxiety and overwhelm, right? For companies, their employees are doing this. And sometimes I'll start off with, who here has no stress or anxiety in their life?
Got it.
Nobody ever raises their hand, right? Because that's when I can say I have stress and anxiety,
Yeah.
but these tools help me self-regulate in the snap of my fingers.
Deb, maybe our generation, I think
Mm,
we're probably a similar gen, whatever that may be.
right.
And we're probably a similar gen or close or overlapping or
Right.
whatever the heck. I don't know about you, but I grew up in the north of England, and I was taught as a kid that I should repress stuff, boys
Mm,
shouldn't show their feelings and things like that.
yeah.
I don't know if it was similar when you grew up in Australia. It's our generation didn't
Men certainly were not allowed to cry. Like,
yeah.
if I got upset, it was a, what's the matter? Right? It wasn't like, let's talk about that. Although I've got to tell you a funny story. My daughter and I last year, my middle daughter and I were in New York where she was getting some blood work done, and as we're walking down the streets of New York to go into this place, there was a little girl that came
Yeah.
came out with her dad, flaying her arms around everywhere, really like screaming and carrying on. And so her father says to her, What emotion are you feeling right now? My daughter and I look at each other. The kid's frantic. The kid is angry. Can't you see? Right. It was really funny to recognize how some generations handle certain things throughout the changes, you know? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. At least she was asked. I wouldn't be asked. It was just like, what's the matter with you? Yeah. So you feel something is wrong.
I got such a wake up doing your stuff. That's for sure. But one thing I think, the world that we live in today, with
Hmm.
everything that's going on, and I think I can't imagine anybody living in any part of the world
Yeah.
right now where there isn't just around us, and not to go political, not to go to
Right.
religious, but anybody listening to this on this day in July 2025, we'd have to be totally switched off from everything if we weren't aware that the stuff that's happening around us is going to lead to an increase in stress, in anxiety,
Oh, yeah.
fear, all kinds of stuff coming up. So my thinking is that there's never really been a time when this kind of teaching, this kind of knowledge, this kind of practical application of something like you say that is so simple and so quick, now's the time to bring it in.
Yeah.
More than probably, I can't say more than ever because you know what? I wasn't around in the 1940s when it was World War II. I can't. But now, whatever age somebody is, I'm going to go, this can be of value.
Oh, yeah. I've used it with my grandchildren. You know,
Yeah,
my husband just recently asked me, he is having stress at work. I mean, who doesn't have stress, right? Again, we're going to bump up against things either expected or unexpected in our environment. So
for
this is a
sure.
quick tool. And the other thing I like to say, I don't want to just cope, Simon. You
Mm,
know, I've been through some tragedy and some
sure.
grief and what, right? But I still choose to bring out a tool that I can thrive no matter what is thrown at me. What's the other alternative, right? So people that are younger,
Yeah.
you know, they love these tools because we're breathing anyway.
Yeah. And also I'm thinking of what we went through in whatever it was in 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
Whatever people's thoughts are on that, that affected so many people.
Hmm.
And I'm going to chuck something else on top of it. So then we talk about the emergence of Gen Z.
Hmm.
And there's a shift that's happening right now.
Yeah.
What I'm experiencing is people are wanting,
Yeah.
they're wanting more empathy. They're wanting people to be more in touch with their emotions. How does that link to heart math? I'm thinking for myself, for me to be able to work with the younger generation, I've got to get in touch with parts of myself that I perhaps haven't really done so much before.
Right. Well, I think that, first of all, I just heard something on the news the other day that a lot more of them are not going down these avenues or whatever, so however it's applied, but a lot of them are now starting to go back to church because they want that connection, right? They want to feel that whether it's love or empathy, as you said, or understanding, compassion, they're wanting to do things. They're actually turning to flip phones so that they can't do all the texting as fast and get the social media. Whether or not it happens or it shifts, the shift happens when anybody and everybody starts to go back to connecting to the heart, what is going on inside it. Simon, I like to say it this way, inside our internal world, because our internal world and what we're feeling from all the senses with NLP, and we're labeling it, is what we then portray externally to the external world.
I got it. So we're getting a couple of comments here. We've got Arthur Bablis popping in saying
Hi,
he loves his
Arthur.
book. So
Yeah,
we can say
I
hi,
love it
Arthur.
too.
And then
Arthur's taken it.
We've got Amy Finnan, who we both know.
Yes.
Amy
Her
and Amy,
drawings, do you see her amazing drawings she does? I'm like
I know,
fascinated by them.
I
Incredible.
know, I know. I've worked with Amy live in Las Vegas, a very dear friend of mine. I don't know if have you worked live with Amy? You must have.
I think Amy and I were in the same master prac or practitioner together many years ago. I think
Okay.
so.
Well, Amy is saying heart math is a no-brainer.
Thank you, Amy.
So I, having gone through your course, like I've repeated three, four times right now, is to me, it is a no-brainer. For my experience of it, what I've been able to add to the students that I've taught in bringing this in, it's massive.
Yeah.
It's massive, and like you say, it doesn't take that much time to get the basic techniques in
No,
there.
you don't have to become a trainer. You can add the simple tools that you learn either
Yeah.
in your coaching practice, in your trainings. There's so much that you can do with it to add to what you already know. It's
Uh-huh.
just, as I'll keep going back to this, it's another tool.
Yeah.
I used to joke, Simon, that I used to have a warehouse full of reasons and excuses for not living my life the way that I wanted to. Now I have a little shoebox because every now and then I want to have a little pity party and stay on that left side of the grid, right? But now I have a warehouse full of my reasons for getting things the way that I want them. And a lot of it comes from connecting with the heart
Yeah.
first. So I'm going to get a better decision making process up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm I'm just really like I say, I said at the start, it's beautiful, it's delightful, and I don't care if my grammar's wrong. I don't give a damn. It's an absolute honor to have had you here today, and I know over the years you and I have both worked with thousands of people, and I would strongly urge people to look into this. If you're in the field of NLP, whether as a coach, whether as a trainer, I'm going to go, this is such a simple, beautiful thing that will not just change stuff for your students. It's like you just said, Deb, you can get this little shoebox thing going on, and it can help you clear some stuff out in your own life. And for me, I was stunned, shocked, amazed by how much I got in those 10 hours. I really
Thank you,
was.
Simon. Yeah.
We've got actually somebody else has just popped in. I don't know if you ever met Jenny Warner. She became a trainer in Vegas in 2017. It was the year I certified as a master trainer.
Okay.
Anyway, Jenny is a bit like you. She's a bit like you. I must introduce the two of you someday. She's like a lifelong student of so many things. She'll probably start laughing as she hears this. And she's asking on here, where can she learn the basic techniques?
Hey.
I think I'm not going to say what Jenny's age is, but she's probably somewhere in between you and I.
Okay.
She's a coach, she's a trainer, she's up in KwaZulu-Natal down here in South Africa. Somebody else who works internationally and somebody else who works in corporate and one-on-one. And yeah, Jenny, I'll introduce you to Debra. Debra is definitely. I didn't know Jenny was going to pop on, but it's great to see her. I was actually thinking I should call her the other day. It's too long, but
Amazing that happens.
yeah, that's that. Have you got any questions for me? Should you have questions for me? I don't know if you should.
No,
No,
no, I feel great. I
I've got
love I
one
love
more.
this stuff.
I've got one
I
more
love
for
it.
you. I've got one
Okay.
because I'm curious. Who is this stuff? This heart math? Who is it not for?
Well, that is such a really interesting question. It's for those people that don't want to be open to
Uh-huh.
learning different ways to add, to come from the heart, to come from a place of love, to come from a place of kindness, authenticity, right? It's not for those people. It's for those people that, where's my little,
So for
well, I'll use,
people who So for people who want to be harsh,
yes,
for
who don't
people
want to
who
be open, who don't
so
want to come from a place of love, of compassion, of empathy, perhaps,
so people
right?
who want to
It's not for them.
live a miserable life and
Yeah,
spread fear.
spread
Is it
that.
not for them?
Yes. No, it's not for them. It's
It's
for
not
those
for them.
people that see, if I can, here's my little duster, that want to see it just like this and there's no other way, right? And we can move that out of the way and open ourselves up to so many things that we could add into our toolbox.
And we've talked about it in the context of NLP. From the course that I went through with you, it wouldn't be a prerequisite to do NLP. Somebody could just come along and do heart
Yes,
math, and
100%.
they'd get a
Yeah,
change.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what
I
I got
give
on it.
this to, my CEO clients. I go into corporate America. I did it for the Israeli company.
Uh-huh.
It's just very simple techniques you can teach people that they can use on the go, in the moment.
We've got more comments popping up here. There's like conversations going on within conversations. You've got Julian saying hi as well. And he's saying hi to Jenny as well because they were both on the same trainers training in Vegas. So there's a bit of a deal going down right now.
That's so
Deb,
cool.
one thing that you and I spoke about the other day, I know, and you know what I loved about being on your heart math course? I'm going to tell you the biggest thing that I loved is that unlike pretty much any other course I've been on in the last space of time, you did not do one sales pitch.
No, I forget about that.
You didn't you didn't
No,
do
no,
one
I did
sales
not.
pitch. And you and I come from a world where we were taught, if you deliver a
Yes,
prep, you've got to do a day and a half of selling, and you've got to be selling all
right.
the time. And when you go to master prep, for example, you've got to do 2 days of selling and covert or whatever, whatever.
Right.
You didn't do one bit of selling. Yeah, I'm right, aren't I?
Yeah,
You
you're
you don't
right.
do it that way. And yet you get repeat clients all the time.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
I'm going to where I think this is where I connect with that is that when I deliver a course, I don't do a sales pitch,
Yeah.
and yet students come back. So what I'd say to anybody listening to this is Deb is one of those people who has the same people coming back, whether she's doing NLP, whether she's doing heart math, whether she's doing whatever the heck else. People just go back, and I guess it comes from my father's in the textile business. He's never done sales. He doesn't have a salesperson. And he's one of, who he produces for. He produces for some of the top companies in the world. And his belief is that if you deliver quality, people will come back. What I can say through having had the honor to know Deb for the time I've known her is that for anybody listening to this here on the screen with me, you've got quality right here. And if you did a course with her and you come back, I'm sure Deb does give a money back guarantee and all that kind of stuff. But if she doesn't, and you take the course because of me recommending you, I'll take you out for dinner if it's not a good recommendation. Deb, you're going to be. I'm not sure
The
you've
course
got.
is not even a lot. It's like,
Have you? I know you. When I spoke to you yesterday, you haven't got any set dates yet for a next course.
yeah, probably November. And the reason why I say that is because of what's been proposed by the military and that going, they wanted either September or October. So those dates haven't been finalized. So I believe that I would do another one in November. And it would
Okay.
be, yeah, a Saturday and Sunday in November, 5 hours each day.
So I'm going to sell you a little bit here.
Okay.
Is that okay? Are you up
Yeah,
for
of
being? Are
course.
you up? I'm actually not going to sell you. I'm going to encourage people to
I
attend
like that better.
to,
Yeah.
to do your course. And what this is you're invited on. It's I'm representing the IFNLP. You're in touch with other people who are the founder members of the IFNLP, like Anita in Vegas, Vivi in Bangkok, Cami in Romania, and wow, wow, wow. There's seven of us. You know everybody who's involved. Just for everybody's information, Deb is going to be helping the IFNLP set up a regional group in America, which there'll be more detail of that coming in, let's say, the next 2 to 4 weeks, I think, Deb. And that is going to be a forum where people can get involved. And we're looking to get input from people saying, hey, what more do you want from NLP? What other modalities do you want pulling into this field? So I'm delighted to say Deb's going to help head that group up, along with Anita and Dr. Nico Stringfellow. And just the last thing, for when you do your course, Deb, I know we spoke yesterday and we haven't got all the detail around this. Though one thing that we talked about is that if anybody who does your next course,
Yep.
we're going to, in effect, we're going to work it out so that they'll get, in effect, $100 what do we call it, $100 off,
Yeah.
$100 reduction.
Right, right.
But as part of that, you will get free professional membership level with the IFNLP for 1 year. That'll mean all kinds of stuff. You can check it out on our website. It'll mean you'll have, for $50 a year, you'll get free access to the conference. You'll get access to the regional groups. There'll be people like Deb speaking once a month, not Deb every month, because
Because you'll get sick of it.
we could have Deb every month. But you can reach out to Deb. Deb's got her website. You'll find Deb Heslin. If you enter Deb Heslin Wellness or Deb Heslin NLP, you're going to find her on the internet. If you want to reach out to the IFNLP, just drop an email, drop something in the comments here on Facebook, or send an email to info@ifnlp.com, or just drop onto the ifnlp.com website and send us a message and we'll get back to you. And yeah, Deb, I'm really looking forward to what we do together in the future and how we start pulling more people together, get more of a sense of community, and like let's get this field of NLP really recognized for what it can do and start making damn well more of a difference.
Yeah. And I think that we need more of, not I think, I know we need more of that heart connection, whether it's in our trainings or our coaching. And, the unconscious mind to unconscious mind feels that energy when we have that heart, empathy, and compassion.
I'm going to go thank you because you've reminded me of it yet again today.
Thank you
So,
so
so much as we did whatever we've done on Zoom that's gone out on Facebook, I received something just from listening to you, just from your presence, just from you talking, and just from picking up on the passion that I always experience whenever we're together. So, Deb, thank you so
Thank you
much.
for making me continue to
Everything.
want to be a better person, Simon. I love you. I love you
Love
very
you
much.
too.
Thank you to those that listened.
Yeah, thank you to everybody that listened. Let us know whatever. Carlo's giving me a message here, and I'm not sure what he's asking me to do.
Okay.
So just let me check on this. What is he telling me? Okay. I am not sure how to end this, Deb. I'm going to say, let's get off here. It's the first time I'm ending one. Goodbye to everybody,
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
join us again soon. We will be doing another webinar in about 2 weeks' time. The next one will actually be Vivi Tadalapat from Bangkok and myself. And we'll be giving some more information on what the IFNLP are up to and how anybody can get involved. So, Deb, I'm sure by then we'll have some more people from America joining in, and perhaps some of your students as well, be it from HeartMath or be it from NLP. Okay. Thank you to everyone. This could be a clunky ending because somebody's going to come in and help me close this down. Thanks again. Debs, have a beautiful rest of the day over there.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.